in case of a fire. It should not be spreading the fire, it should not spit out burning droplets, it should not emit excessive smoke, and of course it should preserve its structural and thermal integrity for a certain amount of time. And this is all to provide enough time for living beings to escape the fire and for the fire brigade to be able to come into your facility and extinguish the fire. From our experience, we try to simplify and categorize the fire performance classification in three parts. First one is reaction to fire, the second one is resistance to fire, and the third is smoke generation. Now this graphic representation explains a little bit better what we mean by these criteria. When we talk about flame spread and fire propagation, it's all about if the panels are going to be moving the fire to different parts of your facility, is there going to be flame spread to excessive levels. And smoke generation is quite simple, it's the vertical development of smoke. And the more tricky part is fire resistance or resistance to fire, which is the panel's ability to contain the fire in a specific area. Reaction to fire tests are actually relatively smaller scale tests, and they determine how much a material promotes or spreads fire, and they focus mainly on combustibility, self-ignition, surface flame spread, and smoke generation. Here are three very typical and known standards and classifications that apply to insulated panels. When you're talking to any panel supplier, you should be getting more than one fire test report or certificate, because these tests only focus on one thing alone. And you need to have a more holistic approach to consider every aspect of a fire situation. What you see in these photos are from an ASTM E84 test, which is focusing on flame spread and smoke development. This is a test that's applied on a 7-meter long panel, and it has three categories of results. Obviously, we have Class A certification with the lowest possible values. EN 13501-1 is a Euro class classification. It includes multiple tests and ultimately provides a result that focuses on ignitability and smoke development and burning droplets. An FPA 285 is the last one from this category that I'd like to share with you. This test is done on a 3.5 by 4.5 meter sample, and there is a basically window opening. It's specifically applicable to exterior walls, and it's a pass or fail test. It checks the degree of vertical and horizontal flame spread to determine the result. The resistance to fire, this is where things get a lot more complicated, because these tests determine whether a material actually can withhold the fire in a certain area and prevent it from moving to the other zones in your facility. They try to determine for how long the material, not just the material, but the entire assembly will withstand fire. These tests are the ones that give you time-based ratings. And keep in mind, this is not a product test, it's an entire assembly test. Here, the most well-known two categories are the EN 13501-2, which is a European standard, and the ASTM E119, which is the American counterpart of it. In the European test, the photos are from the European test that we have done. You build a firewall, and these photos step by step show the progression of the test. In time, first smoke will start penetrating through the joints and connections, and then ultimately flames will be visible from the safe zone, let's say. And it does have, on the insulated panels, two results. One focuses on thermal integrity, and the other one on structural integrity. We have achieved up to 2 hours of fire rating on our assemblies through use of different thicknesses of insulated panels. The last part is the smoke generation. Now, Smoke is as dangerous as the fire itself because one, it will damage the products that are being stored in your facility. Two, it's gonna hurt your people. Three, it can prevent, excessive smoke can prevent the fire brigade from ever entering your facility. They may refuse to come in and put out the fire. That is why it's important that the panels should not give off excessive smoke in case of a fire. Here, there is a European standard and an American counterpart under FM, Factory Mutual Approvals. We have opted for the FM solution because it is actually a more strict test, it's a harsher test, has more demanding criteria against smoke development. Now, what I mentioned until this point are all singular tests and test reports. They do look at different aspects of fire, yes, but these alone are not sufficient. Because of this, multiple European and American bodies have actually developed a more comprehensive fire certification program for insulated sandwich panels. These are namely Factory Mutual from US and LPCB, Loss Prevention and Certification Board from the UK. We have gone with FM approvals for our panels because they are more widely accepted throughout the world compared to the LPCB solution. And FM approvals have multiple standards that apply to the insulated panels depending on the usage of your panels, whether they're internal panels, they're external roofs or external walls. FM Global, by the way, is actually an insurance company. That's how they started, but they have their own testing facilities. They develop testing standards and test products against these. One important thing about the FM approval certification is that they do not only audit the panel manufacturer, but every single supplier of the manufacturer is also audited on a regular basis for quality surveillance. These are just a brief list of the amount of tests that FM approvals conduct on insulated panels before they can give you the certification. As you can see, it is quite a long list that does consist of not only fire-related tests, but also mechanical and structural tests. This is why a panel that is able to achieve FM approval certification is considered to be a more highly engineered and superior product than a typical PIR panel which has not achieved this certification. Here are a couple of photos from the FM approvals testing. This is a room test. You basically build an entire room and there's a fire source and they measure the amount of flame spread and whether it actually penetrates to the other side. And this is as the fire develops further in the room. And these are from the parallel panel test. Most people actually think that the room test is a harder test to pass, but in reality, it's the parallel panel test where majority of the panels manufacturers fail, because in the room test, it's basically a completed area with the flashings and fixing accessories, so there's nothing really exposed. But on the parallel panel test, they are testing bare panels, so they're not protected by anything, and it's just focusing on the panel's pure ability to withstand fire. And these are the last two photos are from combustibility from above a roof. These apply to the external cladding for the roof application. So our fire shield panels, they combine the high-grade, high-index polyisocyanurate core with the specially designed double tongue and groove joint. While the PIR core protects the panel itself, protects it from the flames, prevents the flame from further progressing within the panel, and the fire-rated joint gives more time to the panel for added protection because it delays the amount of time it takes for the fire to actually reach the core of the panels. To summarize, we have got from European to American multiple standards that we have tested our panels against, and in addition to that, as we saw the need, we have also gone with the more complex and comprehensive FM approval certification. For any insulated panel manufacturer, these are the questions you should be asking on fire safety. How many fire test reports do you have? What certifications do you hold? Where have these tests been done? In-house tests, small-scale tests mean nothing. It has to be done by independent third-party laboratories. At the end of the day, we're talking about protecting your investments with fire-resistant insulated panels, and you should be getting the best solution that is available on the market. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you so much for